Welcome to the Val Valley Model Railroad. My name is Sean Moore, and I invite you to the Val Valley Layout Tour 2019. In this video series, you will be taken on a video journey through my model railroad. First, we will view each section through the eyes of a visiting rail fan. Then, we will step back and have a look at each section of the layout from a modeler's perspective. We will produce an episode about every 2 to 3 weeks. Each episode will cover 2 or so sections of the layout. Episodes. Episode 1, Intro, followed by the Pearson City and Pearson Yard. In Episode 2, we'll look at Pearson Diesel Shops, the Pearson Roundhouse. Then, moving along to Episode 3, we'll be visiting the Val Valley's Valley and Stillwater's Maintenance of MoW Yard. Then in Episode 4, we'll make it to Stillwater and on to Wallace Junction. Then, in Episode 5, we'll be traveling up the branch line and we'll stop at Billings, then Sycamoose. And then come Episode 6, we'll be taking a look at the town of Wilson. And finally, the end of the branch line, the coal fields of Sutton. And then our last episode is titled Electric, where I will discuss all kinds of electrical systems that we're using on the layout that may be interesting, from the signal systems to the crossing gates to why I wired my layout as if it was a DC layout, even though I knew I was going to make it DCC.
The old ways are going. Some of them are gone.
Oh, I don't love my baby, do I don't.
This is a song you'll never hear again, the song of the Gandy Dancer. Lining railroad track was always hard, hot work.
Oh, lay my ball in the middle of the track, ain't gonna lie to the champion bag, baby, my ball.
Machines do all the track lining now, but 15 years ago on the 42-mile Mississippi Export Railroad, one band of Gandy dancers still survived.
Oh, way down there in the fog of the brain, G-Bud whistling the buzzard dance way down.
Welcome back to the Val Valley tour. I want to apologize right off the bat. It has been a long time since an installment came out. And they were supposed to come out somewhat every 2 or 3 weeks. I think it may be 2 months now since one's come out. Today we're going to take a look at the valley in the Val Valley. And we're also going to look at the maintenance yard. We're looking at the main bridge. We have the 1218 in my Challenger parked here. This is the valley. We'll take a quick look at it, how it's built, and then I'll show you some still pictures. The valley itself is stacked layers of foam. I took a hot wire cutter and I cut it, and I marked it and stacked each side separately. I glued them together as one piece so that they could be put in, removed. On both sides, and once they were done and I got ready to scenery them, I actually took them out and laid them down so that this part was pointing upward, so that when I glued my scenery on, you could get really cool rocks to stay like this. I also used different colors of sand. I used builder sand for the dark brown, The light brown is actually a sand sold for reptiles. I think it's called lizard sand at a pet store, but it worked out pretty good. In the back of the waterfall, we put a lot of Woodland Scenics lightweight hydrocal rocks. And then we used the Woodland Scenics, both the water effects and regular water. So I used the regular Woodland Scenic water for the flat areas, and then I used their Woodland Scenics water effect to make the waterfall itself. And all it is you take strips of wax paper, and the water effects comes out looking a lot like window caulking. And it's just, you just paste it on, and I actually used a fork, and I had measured the waterfall, the length that I needed from top to bottom. I marked that on a piece of cardboard, and then I taped wax paper over it. And then I just cut the end of the tube and I squeezed the stuff out just like you would window caulking, and I spread it around with a fork to get nice grooves in it. And then later I stuck it on, and then I coated it with a couple coats of that regular Woodland Scenic water to give it a sparkly look. The rocks were also coated before, and so were the blue areas. Now I also used a little bit of actual window caulking material. I forget what brand it was. It was white, and I pasted that on. That's what I used to make the rapids waves. The waves here you can see is a combination of the water effect by Woodland Scenics, and that's the clearer part. And the parts that are really, really white, those would be the window caulking that I put on top of it. And I kind of used the window caulking, I used a paintbrush to put that on in places. In some places I used like a putty knife. I was just trying to get that foamy look on the water. I did the same down here. I coated the rocks to make with regular Woodland Scenic water, a couple coats, trying to get them to look like they're wet so they're not always dry. We got some bears that are looking for some fish. And there you can see the detail of the bottom. The blue that you see is actually a fish tank background. Everybody picks on me for my water that is so bright. Well, I kind of wanted to try something different. I've seen waterfalls and water on layout, and it's never nice. It's always murky, green, or icky. And I have some of that over in Wallace Junction that we'll see in another video. But so I actually bought this. It was, I don't know, it was like $10. It was real cheap. And I cut it the long way into a couple strips, and I glued it in place before I did anything, before any of the walls were put in or the foam. And then I literally just put the woodland water techniques on top of it. And then I glued I put the Woodland Scenics rocks after I mixed them and made them into molds. And I made a bunch of them, and then I found ways that they would fit, and I glued them on. And I used the same window caulking that I used to do the waves with, to actually glue them to the plywood behind them. Stuff works good for glue too. So we're going to go take a look at some still pictures of how this was made, and then we'll be right back. One last note, I wanted to get the scenes done here on the side. This is supposed to have a house and some trees and a yard. It's barely even a grass field now, so that just didn't happen. I guess the best laid plans of both men and mice, right? Then over here, we've got some more trees that are supposed to go in on this side, but I keep waiting until that shelf way up in the back there has the scenery done that I have planned for it, and some more lighting. The other thing we didn't cover would have been the maintenance yard. So here we're looking at the maintenance yard. It's fairly simple. It's 2 small tracks, and it's where my maintenance equipment is supposed to pile up. My layout's so small, and I wanted a place to put rails, unused signal boxes. I got some dumpsters, and some of the equipment that isn't out at a specific scene. We have some tampers lined up today, and a go potty, plus our Sperry rail service. And we have some concrete barriers, some 55-gallon drums, and the all-important outhouses for the crews. So, thank you for joining for the next edition of Tour of the Val Valley Model Railroad. Hopefully we'll have the next video out real soon, not as long as this one took to come out. In the next one, we're going to take a look at Stillwater and Wallace Junction. Thanks for watching.